to get it.
Yeah.
Coach E called Ensminger, he called 4 verts, and they brought 0.
Let's go! Beautiful Cincinnati! We're hanging out with the GOAT, Joey B today. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. Let's go.
Joe, you've heard everybody, you've seen everybody. I'm the biggest fan.
Let's go.
I'm 1 mile in the back of his Perkins Road with Zippies.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
I'm eating 1,000 Joe burritos. I remember when this man went to Piccadilly's with Coach Nader for Thanksgiving. See, these other people don't know that.
No, nobody else knows about that, do they?
But 2019, Joe, what's happening? I mean, it was the best year of my life. What you brought to us in Tigertown and the city of Tigertown was amazing. You know, what you've done in Louisiana,
Yeah.
and it's immense. Mental health, your foundation. Everybody here loves your football accomplishments, but I think your lasting legacy will be your foundation in helping people.
Right.
And that's why I support you.
Have you guys seen more of a need as far as people with food insecurity?
Yeah, I think, that's obviously a big focus of the foundation, and then also, mental health, and then also, just broad things that we think we could help with, whether it's, medical bills or scholarships or whatever it may be to help people.
When I started teaching, I would come home and tell little stories, just things that were breaking my heart.
We just couldn't decide, so we basically paid for 20 families their mental health bills.
Boom! I'm looking at you. It's kind of weird. I can see myself in the mirror. Anyway, on a serious note, just go check in on that one friend you haven't talked to in a while. In fact, pause this video right now. Yeah, you, John, Sarah, whoever you may be watching this. Pause it right now. Call that friend. You never know what they may be going through.
Yeah. Coach E called Ensminger, he called 4 verts, and they brought 0. So we had to make it happen.
And it was crazy because you kind of jumped into a defensive line to get that. I've never seen that.
Clyde had missed a block. The nickel had blitzed a couple series before, and Clyde missed him. And then that play, then Mike came up and blitzed, and Clyde picked him up really well, so I was able to find a little lane. But I had to just buy a little more time, so I had to jump away from that guy.
Alrighty, so we're going to take this step by step because I know a lot of you want to really understand what Joe is saying, and I know some of you are probably a little overwhelmed by some of the technical jargon that came out really, really, really fast there.
Yeah. Coach E called Ensminger, he called 4 verts, and they brought 0.
But simply put, 4 verticals is exactly what it says it is, right? He's running a go, he's running a go, he's running a go, and he's running a go, okay? So we are running 4 verticals across the way. But we decide here, LSU, to use a variation of 4 verticals. So we are bending the route off at the sticks, okay? So you'll see Herbie, we actually already saw Herbie draw this up. Instead of it truly being 4 verticals where, Terrace would keep running here, Justin would keep running here, they decide to bend it off. So instead of this really being a vertical, it's in essence a long dig. D-I-G. I know your minds went elsewhere there. But it is a longer dig route, okay? So now, before we continue our breakdown, the second term that Joe used is cover 0. Okay, so what does cover 0 mean? Well, you would think cover 0 would be something very technical, but honestly, it is the most simple coverage. There are no deep safeties at all. It is straight man-to-man coverage, okay? So you see right here, all these players decide to come on a blitz, and there is a QB spy to where if Joe decided to run for this, I want you to remember this, okay? I'm looking at you. We got a Jaden Daniels film study coming up on this very subject. This is actually a rare all-22 angle that we get. Now, if you're a member of the PHL Patreon, I have all 22 film for some games of 2019, and just for a little bit a month, you get access to our private discords, all our extra depth charts, game grades. I want you to see where this play actually is right now, okay? Now, Joe feels all this pressure, okay? But look at where all our receivers are right now. They aren't even past the first yard marker. And Joe has to get this football all the way here, okay? Now, let's just do some simple math, okay? Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall, we all know that they run sub 4.5 40-yard dashes, okay? But here's the interesting thing. This is going to take a full second for them to get to this next yard marker. Once again, if you do simple math, if they're running at their absolute hardest. So Joe has to buy a full second of time right here, okay, for all of this to develop, okay? And remember, it's not a straight line that Jets has to run. It's a bend, okay? That is what makes this play so unbelievably difficult, okay? Now, let's go a little bit deeper into this film study today, okay? So we know what 4 verticals is. We know what cover 0 is. Let's freaking dive deeper.
So we had to make it happen.
And it was crazy because you kind of jumped into a defensive line to get that. I've never seen that.
Clyde had missed a block. The nickel had blitzed a couple series before, and Clyde missed him.
So I think, Joe in this conversation that we had with him said a few series ago, I think he was actually talking about the play right before 3rd and 17, right? You had the nickel blitz. It's a tough pickup off the play action fake to, step up and then get out to the right. But what's very interesting about this is Joe could have been referencing a few other instances where Clyde struggled picking up pressure off the edge. So you're looking at a few screenshots. I've done breakdowns of this one. I'm not going to show you the recorded versions of these breakdowns. But as you can see, there was a play that cost LSU 4 points on a rough blitz pickup on, ironically, Joe's future Bengals teammate, Joseph Asai. So, look, there could be a wide variety of people who actually should have been picking up this nickel. But if Joe is referencing this play, obviously it should have been Clyde who was able to peel off and then get over here to pick up this player. So, very interesting stuff.
And then that play, then Mike came up and blitzed, and Clyde picked him up really well, so I was able to find a little lane. But I had to just buy a little more time, so I had to jump away from that guy.
This is just crazy. Now, Texas had been throwing so many exotic blitzes, and of course, LSU on this 3rd and 17. You have to maybe think that they're going to bring pressure, but pre-snap, they don't really show it here, right? Alrighty, so I am by no means a master of QB mechanics, but everything from Joe here is just so sound, right? This whole process, he just never really looked panicked. And I think the first thing that made things somewhat easy for him in a very hostile situation was this safety coming into the box right here. Pause. But still, you take a look at what Joe is looking at, and the stripe of his helmet does see that this safety is here, and he does eventually recognize that this corner is over here. So I think Joe at this point, I wish I could have asked him about this, but we didn't have all that much time. I do believe at this point he had made the decision that he's throwing this football to Justin Jefferson because he sees all the space deoccupied over here, and Jefferson is, of course, bending this vertical route across here, okay? Normally a good thing to do when you watch football is find the open space on the field, and that's where the great quarterbacks like to go with it, okay? So at that point, Joe knew that he just needed to buy as much time to get to this point. Now, probably the most underrated aspect of this play was the route itself, okay? It is 3rd and 17, but something I've always said about Justin Jefferson is he is a man of principle. In our last, 2019 film study, the Auburn one, we talked about how Justin never likes to rush his route, right? He is going to give you, the full shake and bake here, okay? So from the jump here, you see that this defensive back right here is playing what's called inside leverage. So he is shaded to Justin Jefferson's inside. Now, what makes that very difficult is that's where Jefferson wants to go, is across the way, okay? Now, what I want you to do is see Terrace Marshall and Justin Jefferson. They're running very similar routes. I might be coached to do what I'm about to show you, but I want you to see Terrace Marshall right here just simply rounds his route off, and this DB is all over him, okay? He sees that this DB has inside leverage. So he has got to really juke this DB to create the separation that he's going to want to create right here. Now, once again, this is a safety, and this is probably more of a nickel corner type of player, but still, I want you to see how much separation he generates. So the first thing is he makes a very hard step to the left to get this guy off balance, and then he decides to sell vertical like he's going this way. Instead, he is going this way, and you notice the DB who is initially shaded this way opens his gate. All right, that means that his hips are opened up right here, and Justin Jefferson knows he has him toast, okay? But take a look at how long it took for him to get to this spot. Clyde's block is starting to slip, okay? So that's why doing this from Joe Burrow, he might not have even been thinking that he was jumping into this defensive lineman, but he knew he needed to do something to avoid 23, to make sure he didn't hit his arm, jump into this guy to, make sure that no way that his arm is going to get hit right here. And watch this, okay? Okay, you see where Terrace Marshall is? No separation. Look at the separation right here. And obviously the accuracy of the throw itself, bang, right in the chest. Now, this offensive staff also deserves a lot of credit with the protection here because, look, they had been giving up a lot of pressure off the edges. And Clyde, as we showed you with the slides earlier, had been struggling to block, edge players. And we were still able to, get some gains off of it. But on the play before this, obviously, we give up a sack. So instead of having Clyde pick up the edge guy, we're now trusting him to make the most important block of this play, and that is the unblocked A-gap pressure right here, okay? So for those offensive line protection, we think of offensive line being a very simple position. It's not, right? Especially if there's a lot of exotic blitzing that's happening on the other side of the football, okay? But long story short about offensive line play, you want to make sure the A gap is always blocked first, then the B gap, and the C gap, okay? So if there are more blitzers than protectors, we want those unblocked guys coming off the edge. Now, lucky enough for us, they were bringing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, and we had 6 people to pick it up. So, a hat for a hat, correct? We decide to slide protection over here to the left. Look at this from Austin Deculus, helping out Damian Lewis right here, getting a hand right here, and then getting out on the nickel. Now, everybody here doing their jobs to perfection. If these guys want to penetrate as hard as they can up the field, just wash them up and give Joe an opportunity to step up here. But Clyde still needs to make this critical block, and boom, telling you, Kardashian's this person right there, and now we have got to get Joe right here, okay? Imagine getting a face full for the team. Clyde sacrificed everything right there for Joe to even get to this spot, okay? But even with this protection, you know, some people would say they're not a fan of cut blocking at all. I'm okay with it if you're able to get a piece. Okay? So Clyde does a masterful job cutting this mic. The mic, though, still would have been able to make this play if Joe had just decided to throw it now. And because it was 3rd and 17, these routes had to be run a little bit longer. So part of why, as you just heard Joe bring up, he had to give Jefferson just a little bit more time to get this off. And this is where just the most amazing thing, and honestly, in all of my years watching any type of football, I have never seen a quarterback jump in to another defensive lineman. In fact, he is jumping into one of the few offensive linemen on the play that didn't give up penetration, which was Lloyd Cushenberry. So this is crazy. You will never see quarterbacks jumping into contact. So Joe actually steps into this guy, and he gets slammed to the turf to sacrifice his body. And, of course, the ball was perfectly thrown on the numbers, and Jets, obviously, one of the best with the football in his hands. And here it is again. So, once again, because Clyde elected to cut, this linebacker was able to get off this cut eventually, and Joe had to just find some space, right? And they're never calling that holding, by the way. And eventually he jumps into another player. But this had been the point of the... Well, I'll say this for the end of the video. Let's keep it moving. Let's go.
Catholic high school, same as Clyde Edwards-Helaire,
Yep.
but we're proud of him too.
Yeah.
Yes, we love Jamar and Jefferson as well too.
We're trying to get Clyde up here.
Oh yes, I
Trying to
know.
make that happen.
I saw you all together at the
Yeah, we're hanging out.
spring.
Yeah.
Now, how crazy would that be? Clyde and Joe back together. I hope it actually happens. So, there was a lot in this video, and this probably was one of the more unique videos we've ever done here on PHL. And to reward you guys, we're giving away a Joe Burrow PSA 10 Clear Vision rookie card. All you got to do is like, subscribe, and comment down below, and we'll give it away on our next Tuesday live stream. The experience with Joe Burrow would not have been nearly as fun if my dad wasn't there, and I cannot thank him enough. And you also heard from Joe's father. You see him right there, right on cue with the whole Burrow family right there. This obviously that wasn't the most iconic image from his dad from this game, and even that, this whole thing, 3rd and 17, wasn't even the craziest thing from this game.
You know, they shot my jersey with a cannon in pregame, so
Oh, what?
I was on game day. So I was thinking of that one a little bit.
You can say it, Joe. Did that tick you off? Well, how's Joe Burrow react when he sees a foe blow up his jersey with a cannon?
I wasn't really ticked off. I just thought it was super weird, and you know, I wanted to go and hang 400 on him after that.
As far as 3rd and 17 in and of itself is, well, mathematically, this play probably should not have worked, okay? The play call was a very freaking good one, as Joe alluded to, Ensminger's brilliance to actually go all out on this play. It's 3rd and 17. You know, to pick up the yards necessary, you have to run very deep routes. But honestly, you don't have to. You know, one thing that, you know, we're talking about a lot here, and it's something LSU did a good job of last year and honestly this year as well, they completed a lot of third down and long situations without actually having to throw the football past the sticks, okay? As you saw right there, on this 3rd and 6 to Jamar Chase, it was a quick throw. It wasn't, past the sticks, but Jamar made a guy miss and house it. So you don't have to get all the yards in that scenario, but Ensminger had to call that play because, well, LSU was a very conservative team on 4th down, in particular in big spots this season. So let's just say LSU was short of the yard to gain there. Ensminger knew that Orgeron was probably going to punt on 4th and short. And once again, what the game showed you in that second half was the LSU defense could not stop the Texas offense. In fact, Texas would go on to score again, and it took an onside kick to actually end up sealing the game. So here's the thing. Texas in that second half, they were 5 for 5 on offensive drives. They had 4 touchdowns and a field goal. If you just focus on the mathematics aspect of it, and football honestly is a big mathematical game. Ask any coach. They want to create numbers advantage in the running game, passing game, and all of that. All right? What I want you to see is this, all right? When the ball is snapped, the clock is 2 minutes and 38 seconds. So, at this point, what we can deduct, now we don't have the specific frame rates here, but what we can see is there is already 2 seconds that has been eclipsed on this play. Now, let's take it one step further to right here. Boom. All right? It is confirmed that 3 seconds have already been eclipsed on the game clock. Minimum 3 seconds, all right? It's pretty simple. Go from 2:38 to 2:35. You get 3 seconds, okay? And look, it is still 2.35 or 2:35 right here, all right? So what we can determine is it took at least a heavy 3 seconds. I would theorize that it took 3.5 seconds for this throw to get off. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot of time to get that off, but pause again. God, all right. But still, it's an eternity in football. So, time to throw is always a very weird stat. So, obviously, if you were, and once again, I'm going to need your help in the comment section below. Give me your best LSU throw of all time or an LSU play or drive, offensively or defensively, you would like to see broken down. But look, when it comes to time to throw, you want a quarterback to have the ability to extend plays with his legs, right? Because the longer the quarterback is able to hold the football, obviously the more likely a receiver is able to get open. But that's on plays where quarterbacks are able to break the pocket and do, a high wire act to keep it alive. This Texas play, Joe stayed in the pocket, and he had to generate the absolute maximum amount of time for that play to actually work. So right now you're looking at a few charts from Pro Football Focus, and what they could show you here is, and once again, this is NFL data, but normally around that 3.5 range on a clean pocket is when you want to make sure the ball is gone, around that 3.5 range. So what it's telling you here is if you haven't gotten the ball out after 3 seconds, you're dead. Or in particular, if you're still in the pocket and there's people breathing down your neck, you're in a tough spot. And around that 2 second mark, the receivers were still, as you guys saw, literally another 10 yards away from the first freaking down marker. That is absolutely freaking insane. So, yeah, the math just did not make sense, especially when you take a look at LSU's third down and long conversions on the season. So in the background, you are seeing a 3rd and 10 being completed here by Joe Burrow to a wide open Justin Jefferson. This was actually one of the rare occurrences, along with 3rd and 17, that a 3rd and 7 or longer was actually completed through the air for LSU. So you're looking at some data right here. There were 43 Power 5 instances where LSU completed a 3rd and 7 or longer, and they only completed and actually gained the necessary yards 15 times. Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you right now. So I hope we did 3rd and 17 justice today. Okay? Now, as you saw, I wanted this to be a little bit more than just a film breakdown. So if you want to support the Joe Burrow Foundation, I'll post a link down below in the description. And look, it is amazing what Joe did for us in Baton Rouge, but also he's potentially going to do more with Cincinnati, bringing them that Super Bowl pretty soon. I'm just speaking it into existence, and who knows, there may be a few extra LSU Tigers that join him along the way. So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. There's so much about the 3rd and 17 throw, and all of it defies math, logic, physics, anything. And that's what made it truly magical. We'll never see it again. But as we talk about, if you love deep breakdowns, we do this for the current as well. We do this for the future, like our conversation with Colin Hurley. We do it all here on PHL. We're independent, and we have grown this thing, millions of views, subscribers, live streams, and all of that. A lot of it has been built through our film studies. If it wasn't for the film studies, I would have never been able to go to this past year's SEC championship game. It's because of you guys. I really do appreciate it. And like we always preach on PHL, the super dads of PHL, okay? Shout out to Jacob, shout out to Marcus, shout out to a lot of, super dads who are doing some big things that have helped, grow, in your personal lives as well. Those things are more important than any film breakdown. I knew when I was potentially going to get this opportunity to meet with Joe once again. Shout out to Joe. Shout out to WME. Shout out to Fanatics, for allowing us to have this opportunity. Man, I didn't expect that would be the least of it. It was the experience with the dad, seeing Joe laugh, reminiscing about Baton Rouge, and there's actually a lot that I cut out of our brief, experience together. So, if I ever get the opportunity again, I would love to interview Joe, and I would love to interview anybody involved with LSU football. And to take it one step further, and I'll keep this, personal here, a very prominent member of this team actually got a pre-screening of this, and it wasn't Joe. So to that person, I appreciate you as well, because a lot of this doesn't happen without that person. So that's really freaking cool that these things are happening. But look, I'm independent. The only way we can keep doing stuff like this is you. Yes, you. Okay? That's it. That's why I always do that looking at you kind of stuff. Because I want you guys to be a part of it. That's why, live streams, Patreon, all that good stuff. It's great. But Joe Burrow Foundation link is down below. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. Don't forget, lots of Jaden film studies coming up. Boom. Our Auburn breakdown from earlier. Boom. Patrick Queen interview floating in your face right now. And tonight, let's go get some burritos. Let's go.